Okay, so we're going to do a little crash course here. This vid's an intro to JavaScript, next vid's an intro to jQuery, third vid's going to be build a image slider, an image banner in JavaScript and jQuery. So that's the three video crash course to JavaScript unit, and then after that we'll get more into detail in JavaScript and get into some real fun stuff. So here's the crash course. Starting with an empty HTML page, I have an empty div here called ID output, and an empty script tag in the head. That's where we'll put the JavaScript. Okay, so here's a little hello world. If I refresh this, I get 2012. So you can ignore some of this crazy stuff, that guy and these guys for now. That's just the proper way to do a hello world. Some tutorials do like a document write to make it look simpler, but document write isn't really proper for a bunch of reasons. So this is just a kind of one of many proper ways to just text out to the page real quick. Okay, so we have variables, just like in algebra, x equals 1, it's just a placeholder value. In JavaScript, in programming, variables can hold numbers, letters, all kinds of good stuff. So let's talk about real quick an example of using variables. So here we have like x equals 2, y equals 3, z equals x plus y. When we refresh and spit out z, we'll get 5, of course. Let's talk about what kind of variables we can have. So these are the different data types. We have numbers, strings. That's pretty much just considered text. You can have numbers in the string, but it's all just kind of considered text. Strings go in single quotes or double quotes. We can also do true-false values for our variables. They're called booleans in programming. So there are two other data types you don't really have to worry about, but they're just kind of, it means this variable is empty or something like that. Null means the variable is empty, and undefined means it's not even defined yet. So those are those are the 5 data types altogether. Let's talk about operands and operations on variables real quick. X equals 2, y equals 3, z equals x plus y, and we get 5. So that's addition. We're using the plus operand there. We can do subtraction using the minus. We can do multiplication using the star or the asterisk. So 2 times 3 equals 6. We can do division. That's x over y, or I guess that's, you say y, 3 divided by 2. We get 0.666. We can do a modulo. That's the remainder. So I think it's going to be 3 goes into 2 0 times, and the remainder left over is 2, of course. So we get the modulo 2. You don't really have to worry about that stuff right now. If it's a little weird, this is just a quick intro. We'll get more into all this stuff later. So there's also plus plus and minus minus operators. You could put them before or after, and they kind of do the same thing. It'll take your value and increase it 1. So z equals 2 plus z is going to give us 3. Okay, so we just increase the value of z by 1. Same thing with minus minus. That'll just give us 1 because z equals 2 in the beginning. And here is the same thing on the other side. So you can do z plus plus, and it will, well, okay, we're going to get the same thing on the screen. It will get 3, but check this out. This returns the value and then adds 1. So when you put this into like more complex stuff, that will affect it. So when you put it before, it gives you the value plus 1, but with this one, it'll return your value first without changing it, and then it'll add your value. Same with the minus minus. Again, you don't have to worry about all the weird stuff right now. Just want to let you know it's out there. Okay, so here's more about the strings. We got x equals 33, and then mark is 33 because x equals 33 years old. And so first I'll just show you. Okay, so mark is 33 years old. Now what we did here is concatenated a string, a variable, and a string, or a string, an integer, and a string. So the plus sign concatenates when you're dealing with strings. So if you put a string and you try to like add it to a number or something like that, it's going to make the whole thing a string. So anytime you have two strings with a plus in between, that's concatenation. It just means stick these two strings together. So that's exactly what we've done. This is one big string, Z. Okay, let's talk about arrays real quick. Yeah, let's talk about arrays real quick. So array, so I can make an array called X, and an array is sort of like a variable, but it holds a whole bunch more stuff than just a variable. So a variable holds like one number, one string, one Boolean value, something like that. An array holds a bunch of stuff. So we could put like anything we want in here separated by commas. We can do numbers, we can do strings. So in this case, this is just a list of states, and it's all stuck into this one array. And so we have like Texas, California, New York, Pennsylvania, and then you can run like methods on the array. So we could do x equals this array, and we could say y equals x dot length. That'll give us the length of this. So since there are 4 items in here, we'll get a length of 4. Okay. You can also have multi-dimensional arrays. So I could have this be an array itself. So like we have 4 items in here, but each of these could hold another 4 items or 20 items or anything like that. And then you can have arrays inside arrays inside arrays, all kinds of fun stuff. We'll get on to that stuff later. So we can run like a little thing like slice on this array. So this will slice it after the second thing and give us what's left over. So here we have ny comma pa. So that's just the slice we get when we slice it after the second item. Okay, here's how you access individual items in the array. So the array it has all these items, and you can access each item by its numerical place. Now, arrays are started at 0, so this is place 0, place 1, place 2, place 3. So if we say x, item 1, we'll get CA, I believe. Yep. Okay. So we can also talk about objects. So just like we declared an array with a square bracket, we can declare an object with a curly bracket. And objects generally have associative items here. So you'll have like a value or a key and a value. So like width is 200, comma, height is 300, and then we can access this object by we can access the values or properties inside this object by doing like x.width. So we declared width as a property of x, and then we can grab x and just do dot any property we declare. So z will be the value. Z will be 200. Okay. Objects are kind of weird. Don't like arrays and objects. Don't worry about them if they're giving you problems. Okay, so let's talk about control structures here. This is kind of how programming works. You have like all these different loops and stuff. You can have a for loop. Here I've moved the output to the top. And then I'm saying, make me a counter, make me a variable, declare it equal to 0. As long as the counter is less than 5, keep adding 1 to counter. So it's I++, which we've already seen. Every time it goes through this loop, it's going to add 1 when it gets to the top, or at the very beginning of the loop. And then here, I'm just saying HTML is a variable, and it's going to be a p tag with I inside it, this variable I. So I'm concatenating this variable to this string, and then I'm outputting that. So what we're going to do is loop through this 5 times, and it's just going to give me a p tag, and it's going to say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on the 5th time, I is now greater than 5. Or I guess that would be on the 6th time. We'll get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we'll get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. As long as I is less than 5, then do all this. So by the time I is 5, it's just going to stop the whole for loop. And it's going to be a little backwards here because what we're doing is we're inserting this at the end. So the first thing I printed was 1, and then 2 came out on top of it, 3 came out on top of it, 4 came out on top of that. So it started at 0, excuse me, because that's what we said. So that's a for loop. We can do an if statement. This is kind of like what we were just doing. We have here we declare I to be 7, and we say if I is greater than 5, then do this. So if I is less than 5 or equal to 5, this will just be totally ignored. So the statement is I is greater than 5, and as long as I is 7, of course, what's inside these curly brackets will get outputted. Let's change it real quick to 2. So now I is not greater than 5. Refresh it, we just get nothing. This whole thing got ignored. We can put an else statement in here. So this is the same if statement. If I is greater than 5, then do this. And if it's not, in the else case, then do this. Okay, so I was missing an open curly bracket after the else. So I is equal to 7, so we get this line, I is greater than 5. We can also talk about switch statements. Switch statements are like for, but a little bit different. So here x is equal to 6, and then we say switch x. So this just means like in the case that x is 5, then do this. In the case that x is 7, do this. Here I have the case x is 9, do this. And then you have a default in the case x isn't any of those. So x is 7, of course, so we're going to get this. X is 7. Oops, excuse me, I said x is 6. Yeah, pardon. I said x is 6 in the switch statement. So we'll get x is not 5, 7, or 9, and that's what we get. We can talk about for statements. We already did that. That'll just say when x is 0, and then if I is equal to 0 and I is less than 10, do all this. So we'll get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here we have a while statement. So it's very similar to a for. We're saying while I is less than 10. So I'm saying I is equal to 0 while I is less than 10. Print this out. I is equal to, or just print out I, and then add 1 at the very end. So starting out at 0, while I is less than 10, do this, and then add 1. So it'll be very similar. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's also a do while. I don't see this one too much personally, but this is how you do it if you need it. It's very similar. So this will run this on the first time no matter what. The other one says while the condition, do this. So that means if the condition is met on the very first time, it won't run at all. So you could just get a white screen on that one. And this one, it's going to output once. Once at least. Okay, that's our crash course of JavaScript. That was pretty fast, so back this up and check that stuff out and paste it into your browser and play around with it. Let me know if you have any questions.